that relationship is what allows us to make this group free of charge, that no money changes hands to make this ensemble happen. Nobody here gets paid, nobody has to pay, but we keep this running, and we're very, very thankful and grateful to our host church. Thank you to all of the parents who helped make all of these events run, our reception crew for setting up, who join us afterwards, our recording crew for helping preserve these concerts so we have those memories and we can put those up on our YouTube channel. So very, very thankful for all of that. And in just a moment, I want to introduce all of the instruments to you as well. But I want to take a quick moment and explain a little bit about this last piece because it's an opera. First of all, you can see it was written by P.D.Q. Bach. You've heard of Johann Sebastian, and there's Johann Christian, there's Wilhelm Friedemann, there's Carl Philipp Emanuel, there's the whole Bach family. But P.D.Q. P.D.Q. is a character that Professor Peter Schickle, who's just passed away earlier this year, spent his career performing as a comical character of P.D.Q. Bach and did all kinds of absolutely zany things and had a very, very comical view on music. So if you look at the title, the 1712 Orchestra, if you've heard of Tchaikovsky's 1812, it's modeled on that. He called it 1712 because he claims he did it first. He claims he did that first. And he arranged this for full orchestra. We've taken the liberty to arrange this for a really big flute orchestra, and I'd like to introduce our arranger. This is Nikki Chavez. All the different sizes and styles of flutes, and you can also see we've brought in an array of various other musicians. So I would like to introduce on organ, this is OMG Bach. And our percussionists are LOL Bach, IDK Bach, BFF Bach, and the dad, DAD Bach. They'll be playing some traditional percussion instruments and some that might not normally be perceived as percussion instruments. So before we start, though, I want to take a quick moment and introduce you to all of the instruments, and we're going to use a familiar tune to do that. When Tchaikovsky wrote his 1812 Overture, it was modeled after a Russian hymn and started with a very serious, somber hymn. P.D.Q. Bach starts with an American. It's Yankee Doodle, in a way that you've never heard it, set as a hymn, set as almost a lullaby in places, and you'll hear snippets of other American folk songs too. There's a quote from Papa's the Weasel. There's a quote from Star Wars, and I think Jami took that liberty. Maybe. But here's all of the different flutes we'll be using. I'm going to start with our highest one, which is a D-flat piccolo. These were used around the turn of the century in military bands. They've really fallen out of favor now, but we have to have one. So Kathleen, got the D-flat piccolo. Penny playing the C piccolo. This is the common one that we see in our orchestras and bands now. I've never seen one before. I've never heard of any manufacturer making them, but Lena's got a flute in the key of D flat. That brings us to the middle of our flute, which is our concert flute. These are the flutes that we all play, that you see in everything from school bands to professional orchestras. A concert flute with and then going into the lower flute. Christy has a flute d'amore. It's pitched just a little bit under a regular flute, but has a lovely, lovely tone to it. The flute d'amore was very, very popular with a composer named Quantz in the 1700s, the first half of the 1700s. And with his death, they fell out of favor and weren't made anymore. It's only been in very recent years that manufacturers have started making them specifically for flute wires. Christy is playing serial number 1. That moves us down to alto flutes, so we're getting into the range of maybe a viola or a French horn, and Liz has an alto flute. You can see they're starting to get longer. Moving lower yet, Rachel has our contralto flute, which is an extremely rare instrument. This one was made for us in Holland. Moving over to this side, Jami's playing a bass flute, and you can see now we have to start curving all of these instruments so we can get our hands and be able to hold them. Jami on bass flute. And then moving into our 2 biggest, Al is playing contrabass flute. Affectionately call this our tuned foghorn. Clarissa on the subcontrabass.